शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त कान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गे राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरद्विषे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। श्रीकृष्णचैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे
हरे राम 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 हरे हरे।
नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, 5th chapter, verse number 23. Maitreya is beginning to answer the question of Vidura, and first he starts telling him about creation. He said that he will speak about the pastimes of the Lord, and there are two types of pastimes. One are related with the material energy, another with the spiritual. So first he is going to talk about the material energy, because this is something which we can relate to. This is within the range of our own experience, and we also have curiosity about it. About the spiritual world, we don't have any curiosity because we don't know anything about it. You become curious about something which you know and you don't know. You know something but you don't know fully, and you are not curious about something about which you know nothing, or you know everything, or you have no interest in something. We also don't become curious about something which we don't know and we have no interest. So about spiritual world, nobody knows anything unless of course they hear something from Shastra, and then you may become curious. But material world, you see the open sky, and at night you see a lot of flowers hanging, and you become curious about twinkle twinkle little star. Come down, tell me what you are. Up high in the sky. What is that next? High up in the sky. Something. So we are curious. So therefore he said that he is going to speak about Vishwasthiti Udbhava Antartha, that how it is maintained, created, destroyed. And he begins telling that Bhagavan Eka Asa Idam Agre Atma Atmanam Vid. That in the beginning there was only Lord alone, and He is the Atma of all Atmas. So when it is said that He was alone, it means that this world was not existing, but the spiritual creation was there. Because spiritual creation is never destroyed. It does not undergo cycles, it is ever existent. And why it is said that he was alone? It is from the material perspective again. So just as when we say that the president is going, then we know that along with the president there is a whole troop which accompanies him. So when it is said that Lord was alone, that means he is there with his associates, because he is never alone. That is one problem he does not have, the problem of loneliness. That is we people who have this problem here. So the only problem in the material world is one, and that is the problem of being one. That is the only one problem. The only one problem is that we are only one, and we want to be two or more. And all the psychology, the human psychology, rotates around this. So therefore I am going to name the Vedic psychology as the Viyoga psychology. There is a yoga psychology, and I will call it as Viyoga psychology. It is the psychology of being alone. And from that all the problems are coming. Because our effort is always being with somebody. And that we don't know how to be with somebody. And we also are not qualified. Because to be with somebody, you need some qualification. To be alone, okay, be alone. You can have your internet. So all the modern science technology has given so much facility for us to reach out and touch somebody, but still it is not satisfying. We have chat, we have blogs, internet, emails, telephones, cell phones, all types of things, but still we are lonely. So Lord was one, but he was not alone. That is his trick. He is alone. He is one, but not alone. He is always with big group. And enjoyment is not being alone. Nobody can enjoy by being alone. That is a different thing, that people get sick and tired of others and they say, just leave me alone. But that's not pleasure, that is out of frustration. And then you want to be with somebody. So that is the biggest scare of human beings, to be lonely. We are very much afraid to be with ourselves. That's why all these inventions have been done. Television or radio or mobile or this or that, just to make us not feel lonely. But this problem is not solved because this loneliness is deeper, and we have to learn how to be with ourselves. We are very much afraid of being with ourselves. It's a very big fear. And you can only love somebody if you can be with yourself. So why the love is always failing in this material world? Because we have not learned to be with ourselves, and we want to be with somebody. How can you be with somebody when you cannot be with yourself? It's not possible. You don't even know yourself. You cannot be alone with yourself, and then you want to be with somebody. So there is going to be problem, mismatch, difficulties, and no harmony. If I know myself and I can be with myself, then I can be with others. So this is very important. So God can be alone. God says, Bhagavan eka ashayadam. He can be alone also. If he likes, he can go in yoga nidra. So even when he is alone, he is in yoga. He is not in viyoga. And even when, in our case, even when we are in yoga, we are with somebody, we are having union with other people, still we are alone. Even when two people are meeting in this material world, still they are not meeting. This is the situation. So he says, Atma, Atma Nam Vibhu. So what about all other Atmas, the souls? He says, because all the souls are hanging on him. The soul by itself cannot exist without the Lord. It is not. It's like you have these small bulbs they use for decoration. So they light up only when they are hooked onto the main plug. And then light comes into them. Otherwise they don't exist. So at that time everything goes inside his body. And what about the desires of these people? He says all their karma, everything is in unmanifest state, everything is in the Lord. And Atma Ichchanugatao Atma Nanamati Uplakshana. And Lord, He is the Uplakshan of various philosophies. Some people say there is no God, so they are also talking about God. Some people say God has no form, they also talk of God. Some people say that He has form, and then what kind of form? So these various types of mati, philosophies, opinions are all found about God. There is a lot of talk about God, although nobody knows Him, nobody has seen Him. But still there is talk. It is quite amazing. And those people who say that God is an invention of human being, they talk about Him. Somebody wrote a book, God is not great. You know that book? And he's criticizing every religion. That how they are duping people, there is no God. And the guy was born Catholic, then he became Muslim. Then he practiced Buddhism. Then he came and lived for some short period in Osho Ashram, Pune. And finally became atheist.
With that?
With that? Forget the name, but the book he has written, it's a very popular book, God is not great. And book. So he is also talking about God. God is not living him. He has to even write a book. So it is very interesting. So Nana, this is the meaning of Nana Mati Uplakshana. That God is the object of various opinions, various philosophies, positive, negative, and they are having their vivad, debates. So J. Goswami is translating today. He is using this one word. He was also talking about, he says, Upjapta matayo vivadante. And these people with rebellious nature, they are criticizing each other. So Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he comments, Srishti Lilam Varnayitum Tatah Purva Avastham Aha Idam Vishwam Agre Srishti Purvam. To describe the pastime of creation, he first speaks what was before it. Before he built a house, then people say, how was the land here? Was it flat or up and down? So he's talking about that. So idam vishwamagre srishte purvam, before the creation, Bhagwan Sarvashwarya Purna Ekevasa. Lord, he was replete with his 6 opulences of beauty, strength, renunciation, knowledge, and opulence, his majestic power, all this. So he was alone with this. Bhagavati Linatvena Bhagavato Adhishthan Karnatvaditi Eke. So what about this universe? Where was it and how can we say that he was alone? So different people have different opinions. He is giving that. So some people say that because at that time the material energy was existing in the Lord, therefore it is said that he was alone. Or he is the cause, therefore it says that he is alone. Because this material energy is not created. When we say creation, it only means change of form. There's nothing new is created. Everything is just a change of form. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It is the principle of science. And Bhagavatam, Sankhya philosophy, Satkaryavad also accepts that. It's a very old principle. All the time things are just transforming. It's called vikara. But it's not something new which comes into existence, although it looks like that. Bhagavad Shakti Karyatvad Anya. Some people say because this material world is the outcome of Lord's energy, and there is oneness between energy and energetic. So in that sense, Lord was the only one existing. Yadva idam agre iti ek padyena asya srishte purvam. Or he is not saying what was there before creation, he is talking about that this srishti, before this came into existence, it was one. Can also be taken as, and it was in the form of the Lord. Can also mean like that. Tatha sa eva yoga margene upasya atmanam jivanam antaryami. So those who follow the path of yoga, for them the ultimate reality is Paramatma, it's super soul. So therefore there was only super soul in the beginning, they will say. तथा स एव ज्ञान मार्गेण उपास्य सर्वव्यापको ब्रह्मेति अर्थ. And those who are following the path of jnana, means they believe in impersonal Brahman, then they will say that there was only Brahman at that time, nothing else, only that existed. एवं उपासकानां भक्ति योगी ज्ञानिनां मत भेदात् Nana Matirup Lakshanam. And those who are upasakas, devotees, they believe that Lord has a personal form, He exists. So in this way, there are various opinions. There are 3 major opinions. That Lord exists as super soul, exists as Brahman, no form, which is very prominent opinion or understanding of people. Most of the Western religions, it is Christianity, Judaism, Islam, they don't believe in God's personal form. And they are also not very clear what it is. In India also there is a big group, they say that there is no personal form of God, it is only Brahman. But they are very clear about it, what it is, they speak a lot. Although ultimately they say that it is a nirvachaniya, you cannot say what it is. And then there are devotees who say that he is a person. The only thing is that when he is a person, then what kind of person he is? Then there is major schools, Vaishnavas, Saivites, Shaktas, Ganapatyas, all kinds of people. So this is the Nanamati Rup Lakshanam. But it is all talking about him only, ultimately. This is the beauty, that everybody talks about God positively, negatively, in different ways. Tathaiva Srutayo api. And the Vedas are also saying that Yatha Vasudeve Vaidam Agre Asinna Brahmana Shankara. In the beginning there was only Vasudeva, there was no Brahma, no Shankara. Eko Narayana Vasinna Brahma Neshana. There was only one Narayana, no Brahma, no Isha, no Shiva. So this is about the personal. Then about the impersonalists, Atma Evidam Agre Asid. That in the beginning there was only Atma. Atma means Paramatma. There is also statement Sadaiva Asid. In the beginning there was only Sat, which means Brahman. So there are different statements. There is also statement that in the beginning there was only Asat. Asat means nothing. So there are various statements. Nanu Srishtahe Purvamapi Kam Samayam Arabhya Sa Eka Asa. Says before creation, since when was he alone? Because if he is alone, then we always say how long he was alone. So he says Atma Atmanam. Atmanam Jivanam Tatha Ichchaya Sisrikshayascha Anugata Le Sati. So he was alone when the jivas and their desires, they all got merged in him. That means from the previous dissolution. Prachin, Prakrit, Prakritik, Pralayamaram. There are 4 types of dissolutions. One of them is called Prakritik dissolution or complete annihilation. So from that time onwards he was alone. Then what happened? Saiva esha tadadrashta na pashyad drishyame karat mene asantamiva atmanam shupta shakti shupta drik. So at that time he did not see anything. Na pashyad drishyam, because there was nothing visible, and thus he thought himself as if he is not existing, because all the energies were sleeping, Supta Shakti, but he himself was Ashupt Drik. His knowledge was not sleeping. We as human beings, we know ourselves because we know things outside. If we cannot see anything with our eyes, then how will we know that we have the eyes? Imagine that you never saw anything, then you will never know that you have eyes. We know that we have eyes only because there are objects to be seen. Because we hear the sound, then we know that I have ears. But suppose you don't get anything to see, anything to hear, anything to touch, anything to taste, none of these things. Then what will happen? You will not know that you exist. At present, we feel our existence only because something is existing outside us. Otherwise, we will not know ourselves. When we sleep at night and we go in deep sleep, and where there are no dreams, at that time, do we know that we exist? No, we don't. It's only when we become awake, then we remember that, oh, I slept. But when you are sleeping and not even dreaming, then you don't know that you exist. Why? because there is no information coming from outside. So if we don't get any sensations, perceptions, information from outside, then we will not know our own existence. If somebody is put in a room which is completely dark, there is no noise, of course he has to stand so he can feel. After some time, he may become unconscious. No sound is going, no light, cannot feel anything. He will fall asleep. And there is nothing to keep him awake. So we are awake because of our external awareness. So here it is said that Mene asantam iva atmanam, that he thought himself as if he is not existing. So in case of Lord, it is not that he does not know, because he says Ashupta Drik, that his vision was, his awareness was not sleeping. Our awareness is also sleeps. When we are in deep sleep, we are not aware of anything. Because at present, our Chetana, our consciousness is only material. We think of our consciousness all the time, but our consciousness is only dependent, or we are only conscious of material things. Therefore, Krishna has included this consciousness among the material objects. Ichcha, dvesa, sukham, dukkham, sanghatas, chetana, dhriti. Iti kshetram samasena savikaram udaharitam. So he counts chetana or consciousness as part of kshetra, material body. Because we are not aware otherwise. That's why the soul is called sleeping. Jiva jago, gaura chamu bole. That wake up, sleeping soul. So why we are called sleeping? Because we are not aware of ourselves. So when there was no creation, then he says that he did not see anything. The seer is there, but there is nothing to be seen, and if there is nothing to be seen, then how do we know that there is a seer? Cannot prove it. So that's why the statement is made, Savesha tadadrashta na apashyat. He is drashta, it's called as seer, witness, but he did not see drishyam ekarat, because there was nothing, there was no drishya, and thus he thought that as if he is not existing, because all the energies were sleeping. So then he has to wake up with energies. And how do you wake up? You wake up by time. If you fall asleep and don't have an alarm, then how you wake up? When time passes, then you wake up. So later on he will say that Kal Vritya tu mayam gunmaya bhakshi. That first thing which starts acting on material nature is time. Time is that which makes the movement. When time was not active, then Prakriti is just sleeping happily. Material nature just sleeps. So that is the time comes into existence. And Lord starts breathing out, then the time comes into play. So he is breathing out and he is breathing in, and in between there is Kumbhak. Right? There is Rechak, Purak and Kumbhak, 3 types of pranayama. Breathing out is Rechaka, that is when he creates. And breathing in is when everything is going back into him, dissolving, that is when he destroys. And there is also state when there is no in and out, that is the period of dissolution. So that's why we have 3 gods. There are 3 pranayama, breathing in, breathing out and holding. So therefore there is also Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. So he says, Savai Nishchitam Drashta Prakriti Ikshana Karta Purusha Tada Srishti Arambhe Kale Drishyam Srishti Artham Drashtamyam Pradhanam Na Pasya. So at that time, the Lord, who is the Purusha, he is the first Purusha, Karnodakshayi Vishnu, who is in the causal ocean. Now, beyond that there is no cause. And the material world is existing within cause and effect. So he starts the movement in the cause, then the effect comes. So at that time, the time was there, but time was not doing anything. Time is always there, because you cannot think of a time when there was no time. How can you think of a time when there is no time? Only thing is that time is active or not active. Time is also energy of God, and it is under His control. So He is the one who throws time into Prakriti. This is one thing which is very bewildering to the science, how the time is acting. They have figured out that time has an influence because the space bends with the speed. Einstein was the first one to figure it out.
What is bending?
Space curves. So he says at that time there was nothing to be seen. Drashyam, Srishtyartham, Drashtavyam, Pradhanam. He did not see the Pradhanam by which he has to create. Tatascha Atmanam Swam Virajantam Api Asantam Iva Mene. And therefore, although he was existing himself, but he thought that he does not exist. And he gives one example. Vishwanath Chakravarti is very good in giving examples. He says, Grihinim vina grihastaiva iti kavya ritya ukti. He said, just like a husband who is in his house but there is no wife. So how does he feel? He feels as if he is not existing. Because what is life without wife? It's no life. So house is not called a house without a wife. Na griham grihamityahu grihini grihamiti uchyate. It is wife which is the house. If you have seen the house of those people who don't have wife, then you will know that this is not a house. This is a storeroom. Things are just everywhere. So house is only because of wife. So now there is no wife and he is alone. So he is thinking. So this is called poetic way of explaining. As I said yesterday, that the Shastra is describing things for a common man to understand, and there is also science behind it. But instead of using the scientific terminology, they are using poetic terminology because people understand stories and poetry and they are interested in that. So they make this rupak, what you call, in a figurative manner. Allegoric. So the creation is described just as a child is created by husband and wife. So exactly the same allegory is used. because this allegory is known to us. So it is said he was alone. So just like a man is alone, then he is looking for a wife. Unless somebody is fixed to remain as a sannyasi. Otherwise, when somebody becomes young man, boy, then next thing he looks for a partner. Now they call partner. Previously they used to call wife. So he thought that he is alone because there is no wife. Yadva उत्पत्स्यमानम् आत्मानं समष्टि विराजं स्वस्मिन् सूक्ष्म रूपेण संतमपि असंतमेव मेने. Or the meaning is, this is the real meaning, that was the allegoric meaning, he is giving that also. That although at that time the aggregate universe in its subtle form was existing inside him, because everything was in him, but he thought that it is not existing. Why? Because unless he will glance at the Prakriti and it will come out, he does not see it. Prakriti ikshnam vina tasya prakatya asambhavatati. So without his glance, it's not going to manifest. And if it is not going to manifest, it remains unmanifest. And if it is unmanifest, then it is as good as it is not existing. It's like all of us have anger inside us, isn't it? We have all experienced this emotion, nice emotion. But now it is not manifest. So we don't feel that I have anger inside me. If somebody comes and tells you that, oh, you are angry, so how do you say, I'm not angry? But he is right. Only thing is that your anger is not manifest now. But anger is there. It's not that it comes from somebody, some another person. When you become angry, you are not borrowing anger from somebody. It's coming from inside. It's becoming manifest. It's your anger. So in this same way, the Prakriti is already there. The creation, the whole universe is there inside, but not manifest in the seed form. And seed has to grow into a tree. It needs some water, some moisture, some air, little warmth. Then it sprouts. And it takes time, so Kala has to be there. So now he is going to supply this fertilizers. Then it will come out in this world in the form of a tree. So then someone says that the material nature, now he again makes like an allegory, he likes these things. Because the word used here is Supta Shakti, sleeping energy. There's this famous book, Awake the Giant Within. That was that Tony, some guy. You know this book? Awakening the Giant Within. It's famous author in America. Tony Robbins or Robert or something.
Tom Robbins.
Hmm?
Tom Robbins.
Anthony Robbins.
No, don't know.
So energy is sleeping inside. You have to wake it up. So he says, Nanu drishtya bhogya sa kanta maya tasya tada ki drishtya asit tatra hai supta swapavati shaktir maya. He says that God actually enjoys his wife only by looking. So he says that at that time, how she was, this Maya. Maya is the wife. Sometimes Maya, sometimes they call it Prakriti. So he says, Drishtya bhogya sa kanta. That his beloved is enjoyed by him only by seeing. So tada kidrishya, how she was at that time. So then he says supta. At that time she was sleeping. Swapavati Shaktir Maya Yasa. Shakti or energy here means Maya. So Maya was sleeping at that time and he has to wake her up. Why he wants to wake her up? So he says that Nahi Swapavati Kanta Sambhujyate. He says you don't enjoy your wife or your girlfriend when she is sleeping. So you wake her up. Therefore he is going to wake her up. And for that he is going to send the Kala and wake him. Kinchat tasya आनंदार्थम अन्यः स्वभगा बहव्य एव कांता जागृत्य एव वर्तते. So he says why he has to wake up Maya, because he has many other wives. He is not what they call monogamist. He is a polygamist. Polygamy is very old. Even before creation it existed. So God has many wives and they never sleep because he has Lakshmi and Sri and Bhu and Leela and so many. So he says that there are already many Kantas, the wives of beloveds who are awake. So why he is trying to wake up? So then he says Asupta Drishas Chit Shakti Vrittyo Lakshmi Adhyaha Yasya Sa Tadapi Visvasrishti Adi Artham Bahiranga Durbhaga Api Maya Shakti Tadanim Apekshitavya Eviti. Says he could have used those wives or sweethearts to do the creation. If he wants to create, why not use them? Because they said they are Asupt. Although this one is called Shupta Shakti, that Maya is sleeping, but Lord is called Ashupta Drik, means he has got another group of wives who are not sleeping. So why not use them if he wants to create? Because he said he is alone, he wants to become many, so produce children through them. So he says that is true that they are not sleeping, but the thing is that for the act of this material creation, this unfortunate Maya is needed. Those are Lakshmis, means they are goddess of fortunes. They are not goddess of misfortune. And then there is Maya. Maya is goddess of misfortune. So God also has misfortune. He has fortune and misfortune. That's why he is God. He has everything. So he needs this misfortunate Maya also, Durbhaga, along with the Lakshmis who are fortunes. So for that reason he wants to wake her up. That okay, now you have slept enough. It's time to do something. Take care of the house. You're just going on sleeping. So then what did he do? The next verse describes Kalavritya tu mayayam gunmayam adhokshajah purushena atma bhutena viryam adhatte viryavan. So then he used time. So time is the first thing which Lord utilizes to make Prakriti active. This is very important energy. Time is eternal, it has no beginning and no end, but it is not a conscious being. It is a very interesting energy. Material energy is without beginning and without end, but it undergoes transformations. And material energy is unconscious. Jiva is conscious. It has no beginning, no end, but it is conscious. Lord also has no beginning, no end. He is conscious and controls everything. But then in between there is one energy called time, and time is not conscious and does not undergo modifications. Time does not change. Time is like unchanging flow, constant. There is no change in it. All the changes happen in time. Time is the substratum for all the changes. Everything happens within time. There is nothing which does not happen in time. But time does not change. It is changeless and unconscious. So this is the Kala Vritti. And he woke it up and he sent this Kala Vritti into Maya, which is Gunmayi. Maya has got three strands of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. And when they remain in balance, then Prakriti remains inactive without any modifications. But when time comes and disturbs them, then there is a movement which begins, and that's when creation happens. So creation always happens when there is an imbalance. When everything is balanced, your mind is very balanced, then you don't want to do anything, you want to sit peacefully. When there is some disturbance, then you want to do something, positive or negative, destruction or creation. So yoga means you make balance, because yogis don't do anything. They are inactive people. Yoga means becoming inactive completely. So for that one has to become balanced. So that is possible in Sattva. But Rajas and Tamas, they are like imbalanced things. So time, this is the function of time, that it creates imbalance. And imbalance is done by Purushena Atma Bhutena Viryam Adhatte Viryavan. Then in the form of Purusha, which is within himself, then he injects Virya or impregnates Maya. So this is again allegorical. And just as this impregnation here means that throwing the souls into the Prakriti. Because when souls and Prakriti they combine together, then only the creation starts. So just like when man and woman they cohabit and the soul enters into the body of the woman, and then when it meets there, then the creation starts, and then child is born. So same thing happens here. So as the soul is injected into the body of woman by the man, in the same way the Lord is injecting through his look and with the help of time all the jivas from the previous creation which were inside his body. Like man's body, there is also soul, and he injects like that. God is also injecting them into Prakriti. So this is the Prakriti and Purusha combination. And he is called Viryavan. So Virya although is word for semen, but here it actually means Chit Sakti, because Virya also means potency. So here it signifies Chit Sakti or the Jivas, the living beings. So he is called Viryavan because he has got all the souls inside him, and then he puts them. So in Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says, Tasmin Garbham Dadhamyaham, that I give or I impregnate Maya. So that impregnation is allegorical in the sense that the jivas are put into material nature, and after that only the various types of elements come into existence. Otherwise, Prakriti, the material nature by itself, does not have the power to create anything. It's only when the conscious Purusha comes in contact with the inert material nature, then the whole creation happens. So, Darwin says that everything evolved from matter, but actually that is not true. Without the contact of conscious being, nothing can evolve. So evolution is there, but not without soul. So that factor he did not consider. So all this theory of cells and DNA and genes and everything, that is right. We do not deny that. But all this happens by the presence of soul, not independently. So this is the difference between science and philosophy. That Bhagavatam is not against modern science. He is also going to talk of evolution of even human body, how it evolves. Because really speaking, if you see how the human body evolves, then it is the same thing which modern science is telling. In the beginning there is only one cell, right? And then that cell divides and then it becomes like a fish. Because they also say that from the cell came amoeba and fish, and then it grows, then it becomes like a frog, and from dragon, and it grows and becomes a human being. So all the evolution happens all the time. Even our avatars are evolving. Matsya avatar, Kurma avatar. So we are not against evolution. It is not happening without conscious being. So that is the thing which have to be added in science to make it complete. So they also know that universe was created or it came into existence and it is growing. Bhagavatam also says, but it did not happen by itself. So Jiva Goswami said, Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said, Tatascha Tadichaya sa maya shaktis tada jagjagar. Says then by the will of the Lord, that Maya Shakti, the external energy, awakened from the sleep. Ityaha sa prasiddha. That which is very well known. I think there was another verse in between. I jumped onto the next one. The verse was Savaitasya sandrashtu shakti sadasadatmika maya nam bhavage yedam nirmami. So that potency of the Lord who looks at him is called Sata Satatmika. And this has both cause and effect in it. Beyond Maya, there is no cause and effect relationship. Within the realm of Maya, there is cause and effect. So this is what he woke up, and it is called Maya. Maya Nama Mahabhaga Yaya Idam Nirmami. And with that, with the help of Maya, then Lord creates. So even when she is impregnated with the souls, then she is not doing everything by herself. Then also Lord's support is needed, and time is still active. Because without the action of time, still it does not function. And time is Lord's energy, under His control. So when it says Sada Sadatmika, Karya Karan Rupa, Idam Vishwam Vidu Parmeshwara. So the Supreme Controller, the Supreme Lord, then He created this big universe. Vishwa. Then in the upcoming verses he is going to describe the various elements which are known as Sankhya philosophy, 24 elements. That we will look now.
was glancing about this looking of the Lord into the Prakriti. So Prakriti basically is there are all the elements without movement and without.
They are unmanifest. They become manifest later on.
Okay, so they are unmanifest. Okay, and then
It's like seed. So in the seed you have all the program, how the tree will grow.
so the data, let's say, they are
The
there.
genes are there.
Okay. So and only after through the time and the souls
So-
are infusing it. Okay. So there is no place where this Prakriti is where she is inside of the Lord also.
Yeah.
So then there are different stages. First he manifests the Prakriti and then the time and then infuse them the souls into.
Yes. Otherwise, at the time of dissolution, everything is in him. That is the meaning that he alone existed.
But everything, and this I cannot understand, how something can exist without having consciousness.
Something.
I mean,
She means Prakriti.
yeah, this Prakriti is something without.
It's like a stable. Stable is not having consciousness. And it's so surprising. You see so many things around you, they're not conscious.
Yeah, apparently they don't have consciousness. Because if you would, everything is an agglomerate of particles or whatever.
So particles are not conscious.
No?
Atoms are not conscious.
Isn't there a Paramatma within all the atoms?
But they have
The
movement.
atoms are not conscious. Whether there is Paramatma or no Paramatma, that is different.
But if they have movement, then, like time, for example, this I cannot understand. You say time doesn't have, is not aware, is not conscious. It's just a particular type of energy who creates movement, but it doesn't have consciousness.
It's like you have electricity. It can create movement. It's not conscious.
No.
You turn on the switch, the fan starts running. But electricity is not knowing it that I'm running the fan.
Why the soul's impregnated when everything is still unmanifest? Why the soul's impregnated when everything is still unmanifest? What do they
Because
do?
manifestation occurs only by the presence of the soul, because it is done for the sake of souls only. Souls have their karma, and then karma can be fructified only in Prakriti. And Prakriti will manifest for giving the fruit of that karma. That's why Krishna says, Yaya Dharyate Jagat. This universe is upheld by the souls. So upheld means that it is existing to give the fruit to their karma. Atmartham cha bhavartham cha. Atmani kalpanaya cha. Prananama srijat prabhu.
Upheld by the soul or for the souls?
For souls.
And why Maya is considered unfortunate? In that sense, because she doesn't really have anything to do.
Fortunate and unfortunate is because she's not participating in Lord's internally.
So she's outside.
There is a famous statement saying, I think, therefore I am. So you were describing before, if there's no sensory input and you don't know you exist, but if you are there, then surely you're thinking. And you're thinking, what the heck's going on?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that if you don't get any sensations from eyesight, your thinking will also stop. You are swoon in ecstasy. You will become static, not ecstatic.
So practically speaking, the consciousness is related to the object and the sense object and
The conditioned state.
the conditioned state. So this is what means conditioned.